Hi, my name is Amy Farah Weiss, and I grew up in Silicon Valley and live in San Francisco, and take a lot of pride that this technology is being developed here in our backyard. And I'm also running for mayor of San Francisco, and so I spent a lot of time thinking about how we are designing the eco-city of the future in a pro-worker economy. And so in San Francisco right now, and this is directed towards Uber and Google, we have 20 to 30,000 cars coming in, an estimate, because Uber is not sharing that data with the city, how many cars are coming in, and that just shows that there's a real need right now for more jobs. And so one of the fears about Uber is that we're kicking the drivers to the curb when this new technology comes in. And so how do we support people, planet, and profit, and actually create this new technology working with, oh, maybe, as we phase out old cars, we can actually create jobs out of using those materials and turning them into something else? Or do we still need people to be in cars to support people as they go to their destinations? I really want to care about the workers, and I feel like that's not happening, and I'm really fearful about that. We're going to need tens and tens of thousands of new jobs. So what can we do to work together to sustain that aspect of it?
So Uber and then Google.
Yeah, no, thank you for that question. That's and I hope that one of the takeaways from the talk here today is an understanding that this is a long path. This is a decades-long process before we're at the point where where this is a mainstream thing. And so there's going to be a long period of time when some degree of autonomy is going to coexist with vehicles with drivers. We're going to need drivers for a long time. And I think what I take away from this is that, as opposed to in other areas where disruption comes faster and is sudden, and we've got sort of a long glide path here where you can figure out what that transition is. I mean, one thing that we pride ourselves on is this job creation. In the markets that we enter, we create opportunities for drivers that perhaps didn't exist before. So that's something that is a priority for us. This is the technology is such that you need a safety driver in this vehicle now. It's going to be a while before you transition to where that level 5 penetration throughout the industry that we're talking about. So one thing, and you didn't ask this, but since you're running for mayor, one of the things that's very attractive about this technology, and Sarah touched on it when she was talking about parking, is it permits us to reimagine what our city looks like. And parking is one of these things where very few people actively think about it, other than when they're circling and looking for it, or when they look at where they live and how there's just so few parks nearby. And this is kind of the nerd in me, the amount of parking spaces in the city of San Francisco adds up to about 1/16 of the square area of the state of Rhode Island. There's a reason why I know that, don't ask, but if you can repurpose even a fraction of that space into public space, into parks, that starts changing the profile of your city and kind of how we think of public space. So that's one of the things that's kind of end state, but that's another thing we should have in our minds when we're imagining the future.
Sarah, do you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think the concerns about the impact of automation on jobs is, it's almost existential. I think we all feel it emotionally. And I hear it a lot, from policymakers around the world about what does this mean, X technology mean for our jobs. Actually, the evidence suggests that we don't lose jobs in total. The evidence, there was a report a couple of weeks ago from Deloitte, which I'd recommend reading, because actually it picks out the sectors where actually there's been a huge increase in jobs over the last 100 years. Technology has come and improved the quality of our lives, and yet we're still creating new jobs. Yes, some jobs are being phased out, but new ones are coming on. So I think we have to sort of slightly detach the emotional anxiety about change from the facts. And I mean, I love your idea of how do we come up with new jobs to reflect those new opportunities. one of the categories, I mean, it's a small example, but it's a real one, which is we had to invent the job of test driver of self-driving cars. And when we first started, I mean, we've had test drivers behind the wheel of our cars for years now, and when we first tried to recruit them, we didn't know how to get them. It's like, there isn't a category. Who are the people who are test drivers for self-driving cars? So we put adverts in the local newspaper saying, you know, drivers wanted at Google. And so we had all these random people telling me, I'm quite a good driver, what's the job, you know? And so we've developed this whole training course where now our test drivers are brilliant drivers. They go through quite extreme, many-day driving courses and refreshers all the time. And there's this whole new category of job that didn't exist 4 years ago. So I like the idea of being creative about those opportunities, because I think there's lots to be found.